listen to fall to the floor.
Welcome back to another pen talk, and I'm certain you can figure out it's vintage time again. This is another pen that I picked up at the Philly Pen Show when I was into looking to find some vintage pens and to find some pens that I've always admired or didn't even know existed and increase my vintage. So this is the Parker Duofold in a Toothbrush style, which is represented by the pattern on the barrel and the cap. I took the pen apart to clean it. It was a little dirty. Nothing seriously wrong. There is one flaw, which I will show you in a minute. I put a nice new bladder on, and besides using my glue, that wood glue that I used before I put on the sack, I'm now also putting a little coat of shellac right at the bottom of the sack where it touches the section. I've noticed a challenge with some of the sacks breaking at this part right here, so I want to be sure that that's a little bit solid. This is a standard Parker nib. This pen was made in 1939. There's a 9 with a dot on it on the bottom of the nib, which we'll show you here in a picture. It has a classic hanging pressure bar. That little lip there catches on the top of the barrel. Yep, and it slides right through if you don't have anything to stop it. So that's how it catches. And then the button slips on after you put in the pressure bar, and I polished it up. This brass polishes up very, very nicely. And the pressure bar was pretty dirty, so I always make certain that the part of the pressure bar that's going to touch the sack, you know, as you press down the button, this comes out and presses against the sack. So that's nice and clean, waxed up. I also cleaned as much oxidation and corrosion as I could. The pen cleaned up well, but I strategically positioned the clip to hide a little flaw in the cap. It looks like a little burn mark, but you know, the clip covers it so it doesn't really detract from the pen. The clip was easy to take off because this jewel here unscrews. You take a nice wide piece of rubber, put it in here and press down and unscrew it, and so you can really polish up all the different areas of it. The imprint really comes out nice in these caps, on these clips. And this is a nice pattern, which I said I've always been interested in. So we're going to assemble it and then put some ink in it. So the first stage is to put some talc on the sack. It makes certain there's no moisture in it, dries that out. It also allows the assembly, when we insert the pressure bar, hopefully it slides past it and doesn't do anything to distort or crimp the bladder. So just a nice coat of talc. I put a little bit of shellac on the upper part of the section here because it was just a little loose. So this just slips in and you can push it in. You can notice there is a transparent section. Wipe off the talc. There's a transparent section at the bottom there, which I've never seen before in a Parker. So now we're just going to carefully insert the pressure bar, and we're going to put it in at the top. Hopefully gravity is, you know, keeping that sack away from it. It feels like it fit pretty good, slid in fairly easily. And we'll push in the button. There we go. I mean, that feels good. I mean, you can see the button pops back pretty good. The blind cap screws on, assemble the pen, and it's ready to go. It's a little bit of history on this pen. It was made in 1939, and I think they only made it for a couple years. This was actually an economy model. You know, the large Duofold, the big red that you're familiar with, had been pretty much discontinued by now. This became Parker's flagship pen, was the Vacuumatic. You can see in the details in the clip, it's a much plainer clip, and this is also similar to what's on the Challenger series, which is also a lower end series by Parker. Not as ornate as the recognizable arrow clip on the Vacuumatic. And they both feel a little bit different. This one has a better feel to it, a little bit more weight. So that's the way it goes. It was made in 4 colors. Here's what they look like. But, you know, I'm happy with the pen. It's a good size. You know, it's almost the same size as the Vacuumatic. It's slightly shorter, but that's not a significant amount. Before we actually write with it, I wanted to just show the difference in the 2 nibs. Much plainer nib on the lower end Parker Toothbrush Duofold. Much nicer 2-tone nib on the Vacuumatic, and of course the classic arrow motif that's in there, which makes this a really nice looking pen and nib. As I mentioned, this model was only around for less than 2 years, and it was replaced by the striped Duofold, which I've done a review on, a video. You can see the similarities in the clip, the classic jewel at the top, which attaches the clip to the cap. Different bands, obviously, but both of them share a button fill system. This one had transparency, and this one had a clear section at the bottom of the barrel. Top of the section was clear, so you could see your ink and when it might be running out. So put these in perspective. That's the earlier model and the model that replaced it. So let's ink it up and put nib to paper. We're going to use Robert Oyster Jade just because it's a nice green ink and I'm in a green mood. So we're going to take the blind cap off, uncap the ink. We should hear some nice gurgly sounds. It's nice with the bottle, you can see pretty much in there. You don't really hear anything, but I do see the bubbles coming out, so I know it's filling well. I always do 3 pumps just to get a good fill and to also saturate the feed. So we'll bring it up. We'll do a little wipey wipe and put nib to paper. The pen fits fine without posting. It posts pretty deep, and it feels fine posted. It has a little bit more weight to it, so if you like a pen with a little bit more weight, we'll give you those weights and dimensions, then posting would be fine for you. We'll bring in some paper now, and we'll zoom in. I mean, this nib is really smooth and it lays down a decent amount of ink, which I think really looks good with this Robert Oyster Jade, which shades well. The nib is a little soft, but and it almost equates to a stiff version of a Waterman nib. That feed really works well. I did a little smoothing and a little adjusting, but not much. Again, I usually do that with pens before I write with them. And it fits nicely in the hand. It feels good. The section's a nice size. You know, you don't feel the thread, so you can hold it anywhere you want. So hopefully this was a nice little vintage run through, a little bit on restoration, and just I think a beautiful, unique pen that was only made for a few years. And until I looked it up and realized it was the lower end model, I wasn't that apparent to me. So thank you for watching. May you have many great writing experiences. Explore the incredible world of pens and inks and paper. Enjoy them. Enjoy your life. Bye.